There we go. Okay, cool. We are recording.
Yeah.
All right. So couple housekeeping updates, things that are kind of going on. I know school has said that they're going to. So, what used to happen for those of you who weren't on school before is in order for us to do any type of like call like this, what you used to have to do is you used to have like a Zoom link or a something like that. So you would be it wasn't quote unquote native live streaming, whereas now it's native live streaming. So the next thing that's going to happen is that they'll have transcripts that from the call. So then when you're watching on the replay, if you don't want to listen to my voice or Jerry's voice, you can just watch it on mute and then you can have the transcripts across that. So that's something that's going to wind up happening. So that's pretty cool. And if it wasn't happening so soon, I would probably figure out the transcript thing, but it's going to happen pretty quickly. So I'm not going to bother with it. That's something that I have other uses of my time that I can do other than worry about things like that right now at the moment. So, all right, let's kick off our Q&A. Again, for those of you who are watching the replay, um, we are doing this currently at noon on Monday. I am not married to this time. So if you like a different time, then I'm more than happy to do a different time. I put out a poll last week, and Sonia was so gracious enough to reply and said that she didn't care either way, noon or afternoon, it was fine. Although it didn't work for her today, she commented on it. So if you have a different time that you'd like, because the goal isn't for Jerry and I to be on this live stream. What the goal is to bring other people on, so then we can chat with them and then have them ask Q&A more live. So if you have a different time before my time, I have there is a paid end of this school program, and we will have it up and running by Friday at the latest. And so then my time is going to start to shrink down. So I'm only going to have a little bit of time to be able to juggle stuff around. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you want a different time, then please let me know, because at the moment I have time that I can be a little bit creative with, but soon that won't be happening as much. So okay. Let's go, Jerry. We kind of preset some questions earlier on today. We don't have any other questions, so we'll just go with the ones that we had from earlier today. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay. We have three questions for today because me and my partner is running for maybe 7 weeks now already,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and my partner is having an issue with her leg. So every time she runs or walk, there's always a pain outside of her leg. So we've noticed today that she was able to run. I just like to know how important warm up is, because this might this might have something to do why she was able to run
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
early
So, yeah,
morning.
we were discussing this earlier on, and this goes back to this conversation of ability versus demand. So, um, you wouldn't uh, uh, suggest to someone. So I'll take you way back 100 years ago when I was powerlifting. 100 years ago when I was powerlifting and I was lifting rocks on barbells, and we had to go get the rocks from the dinosaurs, so we had to run. Um, so that was our warm up, by the way. The running away from the dinosaurs was a warm up. So 100 years ago when I was powerlifting, um, I would do sets of warm up squats at 135 or at 135 pounds, or two big plates or one big plate on the end. But I didn't need to do that. I could have warmed up at probably 225 fairly easily, because I had conditioned myself to a place where 135 was light. Like I could bang out sets at 135 for until the cows came home. And quite honestly, 225 was pretty light as well. So, or for those of you who are not here in the States and don't use the real metric measurement of pounds instead of that kilo garbage that the rest of the world uses, by the way. Or like, it'd be somewhere between like, I don't know, 55 and 60 kilo, uh, warm up. And then, let's see, about 100 kilo for my second warm up set. And then somewhere between, you know, the next big jump would have been 315. So that's, what, about 145 kilo, 150 kilo, right?
Mhm.
So as I was warming up, 315 wasn't even really that heavy. It was a working set, but I could do 60. I've done 10 reps at 315. So now I don't warm up for jujitsu. I just go in and train. But I feel like, and I don't feel like there's certain days where my nervous system feels a little sluggish, but my body, and there's certain days where my body feels a little sluggish. But because I'm really consistent working out and my conditioning is really consistent, I don't feel like I need to warm up as much. Now, in the case of Cha, she's getting back to becoming an active person.
Yep.
And so her tissues, most likely in her nervous system, they haven't been moving for a long time like this. And so now she's getting back to it. And the thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we're providing an environment that is safe for her tissue, for her body, and her current level of ability to handle the demand,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So now that could be any number of things. And then hopefully what happens is that as she goes on, she has to do less and less warm up. Now, let's talk about warm up also. Uh, Especially for those repetitious things. Like jujitsu is super random, by the way. I mean, it's super random. But um, like with running, there's this repetitious thing. With weightlifting, there's this repetitious thing. Kettlebell sport, there's this repetitious thing. And so that repetitious thing, that repetitious warm up helps us to get mentally prepared for the thing,
Mhm.
right? So, like when you watch, if people watch UFC fights or you watch boxers fight, uh, there's no thing that UFC fighter or that boxer think that it is at all sane, and a good trainer thinks that, oh man, this one last set of drills that we do before the fight, this is going to be the thing that wins. That is not
Mhm.
the case whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of that process of that person getting mentally focused. Some of it's warming up the tissue as well, 100%. But a lot of it is just the repetition, that familiarity that helps them to go from normal person to crazy person that's going to punch each other, or normal person to crazy person that's going to run a 5K, 10K, or marathon, or ultra marathon, or Ironman, or whatever it is. So some of that is us getting in the headspace, getting ready to do peak performance. So some of
Mhm.
that warm up also can be, especially if it's important to you, part of that warm up process is not necessarily warming up the body as much as it is warming up the nervous system and the brain to get ready to compete. So, and people just get in those repetitions, that repetitious thing, and then that's what helps them to click over. So,
Okay. Okay. So my next question is, how important is being consistent? And if you're consistent, how soon can you see the results?
yeah, good question. So, we were talking about this morning in our meeting about, in relation to business. Um, So the start of the rebuild project is this very large project for us, and there's a lot of things that we don't know what is going to happen in the future. But what we do have control over is we have control over, Dan Campbell, who's the head coach of the Detroit Lions, talks about controlling the controllables. Control the things that you can control. So if someone could make 70 to 80% of their programming in the collective is stuff, the stuff that we do on a more of a personalized basis for people, I am pretty positive that 70 to 80% 75 to 80% is going to be more than enough for them to get the adaptation phases that they need to then overcome the injury, and then the slow adaptation phases that need to happen so their body accepts the position that they're getting into. Like last week, while I was batching content for the socials, I was doing flat ground split squats as one of the things, and I was talking about regressions and progressions of the split squat. There was a time where I couldn't do a flat ground split squat with my heel down for all of the money that you wanted to throw at me. It wouldn't matter. There's no way I could do it, right? But what's happened over the last 4 years is I've gained this ability. I've gained the ability to handle the demand of that flat ground split squat. So my belief is that, and I've always believed this: if you give the nervous system good movement that it's looking for, what typically will happen is that the brain will grab a hold of it and go, "Oh man, I like that." And I was working with a colleague last week. I had a friend of mine that called in. She wanted to tag me in to help her out with something. And so I was working with this, and this person was an old colleague from my past life and my previous practice. And I was getting her to do some things with putting her knee over her foot, or her knee over her toe. And I literally I just subtly grabbed a hold of her shin so I could change the timing on the thigh and the shin bone. And she got into this position. And as soon as she got there, she said, "Oh, I like that." Now, she didn't like, it's not that she didn't like it before, but we weren't giving the brain the appropriate signals, right? So I'm a big believer in, if you're giving the brain what it wants, it will grab a hold of it, and it will provide a quote unquote a safe environment for the rest of the body to adapt around it. So sometimes you'll feel improvements, and they could be subtle improvements depending on how self-aware somebody is of their body. And look, we can argue, is it placebo? Is it, you're drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever it is? I don't care. Are you moving better? Do you have less pain? Are you more confident in your movement? I don't care if I, have you look at this screw for 5 minutes and you say that your leg feels better. Could give two shits. Doesn't matter to me at all, right? So long as you're feeling better. I used to tell people, look, I wish I could lay you down on a table, and if I could do this and I could reliably get away with it, and it provided the outcomes and people wanted to pay me for the experience, I totally would have done this. This would have been a great Instagram video. Just wave my hand over the top of you, have you lay on the table for 5 minutes. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee and have a sip. I'll come back in again, and if that waving the hand over the top of you while you're laying on the table made you feel better, then I'd have done that 100 times out of 100, right? So oftentimes it'll happen subtly in the beginning, but usually the magic should happen somewhere between week 4 and week 6, because that's of consistent, at least 75 to 80%. So if I'm working with someone in a rehab capacity, what I usually do with them is we program for them 3 days a week, right? So if you can make 2 of those 3 days a week for 4 to 6 weeks, right? If you can do at least 2 of them, sometimes you hit 3, sometimes you hit 2, but on average you're hitting 2. You should start to see some positive net results over that time. And then as you're going along, you're hitting that ability thing. You're improving your body's ability to handle the demand that you're putting on it. And then the longer the more consistent you are with that, the better off your demand's going to be.
Oh.
Any thoughts on that?
Yep. With that, actually, I've already experienced it. Um, Before, when I haven't used or do any programming, I just like run. I just want to run.
Yeah.
So I I'm getting sore on my legs, my thighs, sometimes my ankle because of one of my ankle, my left ankle. I don't know. I think my Achilles tendon is somehow steep or not.
Uh-huh.
I cannot stretch it, so it won't. This or I'm not. I cannot really run for or far. Just like what's happening when I started. But when I started doing the program that you gave me, um, that that it really helps me. I started running for more distance. For example, after a week, I was able to run more than a kilometer.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
consistently doing it right now. 5 days a week. Sometimes there are four. I don't I don't want to lie, but there are times that there are four.
Yep.
But still, there's a really big difference on how the way I used to run and even with because I think it also helps me with my breathing because I'm not struggling unlike before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already on. So I started I think a month now doing the program,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to be honest, right now on how far I'm running, I know that I can still run, but I need to stop on that, because we have plans. I should stop
Right.
at 3600 right now, but I know I can still finish a 4 kilometer run. So
So
you can see you can really see the progress.
yeah, and the reason why we're having you stop is because we want to maintain that consistency,
Yep. Hmm.
right? Because it's about how well you recover.
Right.
And the more recovered you are, the more consistent you can be. And the
Agree.
less your body's going to break down, the more that you can build up that ability bank account. Because when you start taking demand out of your bank account, they're large withdrawals.
Yep.
And it's not hard then to overdraft or to get into the negative. And
Yep.
every once in a while, you can get into the negative so long as you have a little bit of reserve, right? Oh man, I had two things come out at one time in my account. I didn't think that was going to happen, but I've got some money set aside. So now I can just transfer some money in there, or maybe I have it auto set up in my account, right? So you're able to handle that reserve.
Yep.
Or like we've talked about before, your gas tank, right? In the beginning, you have two settings on your gas tank in the beginning. You have empty and you have full.
Full. Yeah.
You don't have anything in between.
Mm.
As you go and as you gain more ability, then you start to have three quarter, half, quarter, empty,
Mm.
right? And the longer and the more that you're consistent, the more that you start to have, like 80%, three quarter, 65%, half, 40%, quarter, eight, right? So um you have more capacity, you have more ability.
Mm.
So yeah, and but also we in the beginning we want to make sure that we're looking for those short-term wins, because if
Yep.
we don't have those short-term wins, then we don't have the confidence going forward that our efforts are going to pay off and we're going to go to the outcome that we're looking for.
Oh yeah, and I like the idea that idea connecting stick to the plan with being consistent, because if
Yep.
you didn't stick to the plan you might get injured, and after that you'll be in you're really in the rehab,
Right.
to go back
Well,
on what you really like to do.
yeah, it's funny. There's this saying in the jujitsu slash martial arts community that you have these guys, the IC red bro, guys, right? So when you talk to people and you talk to people about if they know how to fight, oftentimes they'll be like, "Yeah, man. Well, do you have any training?" Nope. But no, but I really want. If I get mad, it's over. Like they turn into the Incredible Hulk for some reason they believe, right? But what they actually wind up looking like is they look like Bruce Banner after he's becoming the Incredible Hulk, like laying in a heap on the floor, sweating and tired. And that is really just ability versus demand, right? If you don't have it, if you don't put in the time, you're not going to be able to handle the demand that you're putting on your body. And that's what's different about what we're doing with rebuild than what I used to do, because I used to just train for demand. I thought I was training for ability, but I just wanted to train as hard as I possibly could, because I thought that if I was training for as hard as I possibly could, then what would happen is, oh, well, when I'm ready to go, I'll have that capacity. But what I didn't realize is I couldn't be consistent with that, because I'm just consistently, I'm driving my gas tank to below zero every time. Or,
Mm.
like maybe you could get away with not changing your oil in the prescriptive time in your car. And maybe every once in a while, I wouldn't suggest this, by the way, but maybe every once in a while, you could get away with driving with no oil in your car. But if you do either one of those things for too long, your engine's going to fail. And that's what really is happening when we try to demand more out of our body consistently than what we have in ability. And that gets back to your consistency question. And then also, how soon should I see results? In the beginning, we want these short-term results. We want these short wins. And then we just need to stack those wins, some of those wins being consistency.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, got it. So, last question that I have is, I watched some of the video, and I still have a question with this. What do you mean by regression and progression?
Yeah. So there's a reason I'm on my phone, because I can move it around. So
Okay.
yeah, I did think about this beforehand, Jerry. Contrary to what you thought. Okay, let's take the I think the easiest way for us to look at this is the split squat. Um and I'm getting the stuff set up for the split squat. So the easiest way for us to look at this is with the split squat. Or maybe even a step up would be a good we could in theory look at both of them.
Okay.
Perfect. Look at that guy. Man. Okay, so
Hmm.
the regressions that we have are now, this is a weird thing, because I wouldn't think about these. No, I'm not going skiing. This is a weird thing that I wouldn't have thought about this 10 years ago. Re- Assisted movement. So when we think about a push-up, it's become socially acceptable for people to start doing push-ups off their knees, right? Or
Yep.
maybe even if you can't do a full push-up, maybe you're doing half push-ups. Or you raise your height up so gravity becomes less, so then you could put your push-ups, and then you're progressively scaling them down.
Hmm.
So if we look at split squats, most people, especially if you've had a knee injury, aren't able to handle this demand. So they're not able to handle this full calf to hamstring or hamstring to calf coverage
Hmm.
for repetitions. So one of the ways that you could do that is you could get some support. Now, this could be oftentimes like you're doing split squats currently in your stairway, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And the reason that we're doing split squats in the stairway is so that you can hang onto the wall or hang onto the railing if you need to, just
Right.
for that support. Also, the jump from 2 stairs to 1 is a pretty good progression,
Hmm.
right? It's a clear
Yep.
progression. So we would go support so that we could take off some of the demand and give us more capacity to get into better ability, right?
Okay. Yep.
So it would go from support for as long as that needs to happen, by the way. So like in the beginning, when I was rehabbing my meniscus tear, um, I stayed on a 16-inch box for quite a while, because that's how little ability my knee could handle the demand of the split squat. And the importance of honoring and trusting and respecting what your body is telling you is that when we're doing the split squat, yeah, we're trying to build up that VMO, but what we're really doing is we're asking the joint to handle that demand. And tendons and ligaments take longer to thicken and strengthen because they have way less blood flow than muscle tissue does.
Okay.
So that progression or that regression of assisted, then it would be at that height to where you've done the assistance before, and now we're progressing it down to now there's no assistance. And then the next one would be we grab some sort of external load, right?
Okay.
And we would stay at that height, or maybe not. Maybe we drop down lower, right? And then stay there for a bit. Another progression would be, instead of just like taking this split squat and repping in and out of it, would be we hang out there for a bit, for like 5 seconds, asking that joint and asking the tissue to handle that load.
Okay.
There's one other point I had, man. I can't remember it. Oh well. So that's really what we're, when we look at a progression regression, that's really what we're talking about here.
Okay.
Is where can we find a movement? In the beginning, let's pretend your knee is really busted up, and you've got it at a really high height, but it still can't handle the demand. In the beginning, I don't care if we're here,
Okay.
right? I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter to me at all, right? Because can we then have measurable progress? Of course we can.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So start wherever you're at and listen to the feedback your body is giving you, and then show up consistently, put in the time, and eventually what will happen is those adaptation phases will start to, that over the time, those adaptation phases will start to occur. And just like what you're having right now for you with running. 8 weeks ago, there's no way that you'd run 32 what you ran yesterday, right? There's no way.
Yep.
With the largest monsters in the world chasing you, you couldn't run it. Right? So, but you showed up consistently, and now that what you were doing the first, let's say, 2 weeks, it doesn't even matter any longer, right? Like,
Yep.
So but we have to give the body, and we have to put our programming in a way to where we are able to handle the demand. And one of the reasons why I think it's really important that one of the reasons that this new target demographic for us, or this new avatar for me, is over 40, is that, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's not a pro sports team coming to knock on your door ever. So who cares how long it takes you?
Okay. Yep.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is that we identify the demand that you want to be able to do, and then we build your program around that. We help you to build the ability. So like right now, I have this pro fighter that I'm working with a little bit, and I'm trying to think about like I want to pitch to him a partnership of like, hey, dude, let me do your programming for you. We'll come up with cost and whatever, blah 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 blah. But one of the things I don't want to do for him is I'm not doing his conditioning. I don't want to do his cardiovascular conditioning. He's going to either have to get that from his training, or he's going to have to find another coach to do that, because I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is keeping him strong enough. I'm interested in helping him build his body so that he has the ability to withstand the demand of training, and then also he has someone in his ear to go, "Hey, dude, you're 6 weeks out from your fight. You're 4 weeks out from your fight. You're 2 weeks out from your fight. Here's what we should be doing so that you're actually able to get into your fight and then not overtrain." Because what you see a lot of guys do is they train super, super hard, and they don't have a progressive taper, and they wind up with getting sick or injured, or they get staph, or they get all of these things because they're overtraining, because there's no one in their ear saying, bro, we gotta start slowing down a little bit because you're
Right.
training too hard. So yeah, you need those regressions and progressions, and just like so, when you run your first 5K, we're not going to go the next week. We're not going to go, oh, dude, you just need to go run 5K again. Nope. You'll have a recovery week,
Right.
right?
Yep. Actually,
So,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. I'm.
yep. Yep. So yeah, but that's a regression.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
it's an intelligent regression. So then we can then start to build again. We can start to push your ability to where you can handle the next demand PR, the next PR demand.
Actually, that regression for my weekly run, it really helped. It makes me feel that my body. It makes me feel that my body really adapts on how long I'm running. All I need to do when I'm going to get another PR is to push a little more.
Yep. Yep. Because we're building your ability to handle
Yep.
the demand.
Yep.
But you can't go a billion miles an hour to handle that ability, right?
Hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, any other questions, Jerry?
I'm good.
You're good. Any other thoughts on what we've talked about today?
I actually like the hold for the regression, because what I'm thinking about with regression before is just you adding weight. Regression progression, I mean, um, it's just you adding weight, um, lessen the weight, but if you want to progress, you can also put on hold on that exercise that you were doing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's it.
I'll throw one more progression in there as well, and this one's terrible in a good way, obviously. So you actually pulse in and out of it,
Oh, okay.
right? So for every rep, you do like 3 to 5 pulses.
Oh man, that's That's not. That looks painful.
Yeah,
I don't really like. To be honest, I don't really like those split squats, but I need to. And now there's another way for me to make it hard.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. The pulses at the bottom are miserable. So like you do for every rep, you do like 3 to 5 pulses. But again, that's forcing the demand on the tissue and on your joint. And you can see those like the bonus of when you kind of accept the regression part of the training as we're just building a ability, then you can do stuff like, so you've done tib raises, and
Yep.
so you've done tib raises enough to where you feel like someone's trying to cut through it feels like someone's cutting through your shin because they burn so much.
Yep.
And then where maybe you couldn't even pick up your foot as high as you wanted to before,
Right.
but you could also then like go less, right? So you could do like quarter reps or half a reps or things like that. So, and especially like in places like tibs and calves, unless you have an injury, by the way. But if you're just building your ability there, those are such resilient tissues that you could train them a bunch and train them to failure, and then like those quarter failures, so that you're just building the ability. So yeah, but the progression regression is such an important part of our of kind of how we approach our programming now, or how we approach the blueprint now, and it builds out so much more potential to build capacity and ability.
Mm.
So cool.
Yep.
All right, great questions, Jay. Whoever came up with those questions is a really smart guy. All righty. Well, we'll do this again next week. Hopefully, we can start getting some folks in here next week. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video and you said, "Hey, that was really great. I'd like to watch this thing live, but I can't watch it at noon on Mondays. I could watch it at 6 on Mondays Eastern time." Then I'm more than willing to change things. But again, you have to speak now or forever hold your peace, because there's going to come to a point in time where I'm not going to have as much ability. I'm not going to have the ability in my schedule to handle the demand that we'll have going on.
Yeah.
So right now I have lots of ability, but soon that won't be the case. So cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yep, talk soon.